this computer. Go.
I'll read this first and I'll call it to order. As a preliminary matter, this is Nicole Buckley, Chair of the Library Board of Trustees. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Amy Bartoloni.
Here.
Carol Bird.
Here.
Laura Howard.
Here.
And Rebecca Tracy.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Library Director Bernadette Rivard.
Here.
Good evening. This open meeting of the Bellingham Library Board of Trustees is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020 due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Bellingham Library Board of Trustees is convening by telephone conference, video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please be aware that we have disabled video, audio, and screen sharing for the public. Only members and library staff will have access to video, audio, and screen sharing. The public will be able to view and hear meeting participants only. All of the materials for this meeting, except any executive session materials, are linked on the library website unless noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda, unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each member by name to comment, questions, or motion. Remember to mute your phone or computer if you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. All right, so we'll call the meeting to start at 7:02. And let me just find my agenda. I have everything up on my screen here. All right. And approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes submitted by, was it Rebecca?
Carol.
I have it on one of these sheets.
It's Carol. It's Carol. Carol.
Carol.
So let's see. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Amy.
Great. Amy Bartoloni is seconding. And all in favor? Rebecca?
In favor.
Carol? She's muted.
In favor.
Great. All right, great. And let's see. Correspondence, there is none. Financial report?
So this month, we had $456.64 in our user's fee account. Obviously substantially lower than normally. It's around 1,000. We weren't open to collect fine money, so the money is a lot less than it has been in the past. The invoices that we've paid since the last meeting, building and maintenance supplies, $213.79. Books and periodicals, $1,006.35. Electricity and gas, $493.24. Equipment maintenance costs, $81.98. Building maintenance costs, $175. Office supplies, $62.06. Users fees, $15 for a total of $2,047.42.
All right.
And those were approved by Nicole under the emergency order where one trustee approves a bill. So she has approved those payments.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yes. And then we'll move to the director's report. And I'll turn it over to Bernadette.
Sure. So the crux of this meeting is obviously to talk about our response to the library being closed and how we can move forward from here. So in my report, I have the information about the date we closed, which was March 14th. The staff was there for 3 days, and then the staff was started working from home on the 16th of March. We've been closed to the public since the 14th. The staggered staff has returned to the building. So starting May 11th, there's been staggered staff in the building. Next week, we will return to full-time staff. Will be working starting next Thursday. The book drop has been closed, and we will not be accepting returns until statewide delivery resumes. There's just no place for us to store all the materials that would come from other libraries. No fines will be charged for materials out when we reopen for at least 30 days and possibly longer. That will be something we can vote at a future meeting when we see, when that actually happens. At our last meeting, we formed a reopening subcommittee of 2 trustees, and then I appointed some staff to serve on the committee. So Nicole and Amy are our trustees representing us on the reopening subcommittee, and the staff is myself, Cecily Christensen, Steve Fowler, Ann Consevich, and Barbara Pasak. We've been meeting periodically to work on a phased reopening plan for library services. We have 5 phases that we have identified. We're in phase 1, and really we don't have any timelines on future phases at this point. It's just too soon to know. So I'm just going to read through what the phases are so everyone is aware of what they are. Phase 1 is temporary closure, staff only in the library. Phase 2 is curbside service. Staff only with curbside pickup of limited library circulating materials, as well as curbside printing and fax services. What materials are available depend on the status of the delivery service. It might just be that people can only get items that are physically owned in our building and that are Bellingham owned items. That date is obviously a date to be determined. Our third phase would be curbside pickup and limited in-patron service. We know there's a big demand in the community for people that don't have computers or have limited access to computers and printing, and we anticipate there will be a need for job searching and resume updating and those types of services. So what we're looking at as part of phase 3 would be to allow limited people in the building, very limited number, probably based on whatever the recommendations are for occupancy, for computer use for those very specific services that are crucial to those people. Our 4th phase would be essential service. That would be at the point that we restrict the number of people in the building based on revised occupancy limits and resume essential services that can be resumed while maintaining social distancing. So there probably would still not be children's programs when there's 50 people in the community room, but people could come in, pick out the things themselves, browse the stacks, and do those types of things. And then the 5th is normal operations, returning to whatever normal is that we can offer. Hopefully the same things we could offer before the pandemic. So that's what we're working toward, getting this document completed one phase at a time. We have completed phase 1, and the draft of phase 1 is in the meeting documents, and I'm asking for a approval of the trustees to approve phase 1. Phase 1 is the summary of phase 1. Staff is in the building, and starting next week, we would be answering the telephone from 11 to 2, Monday through Friday, to answer people's questions about whatever we can help them with over the telephone. So that's the kind of the summary of phase 1. And phase 1 also has a lot of information about the things we've done to the facility. We've moved desks so the staff are all 6 feet away from each other. We have masks, we have hand sanitizer, we have cleaning solutions. So we have all the things we need to hopefully keep people as safe as we can. The staff is we're trying to stagger hours as much as possible, so we have as few people together at the same time as we can. The staff will continue to meet with a Zoom session, so we can all be as part of the staff meeting once a week. Right now I'm in the process of setting up and testing a self-checkout station, so when we do reopen, we will have a self-checkout station for the public. It's it's sitting in its spot. I got to turn it on, and I tested it at home and it worked, but I got to get the barcode scanner and the receipt printer to work in the library.
Can I ask you a question about the self-checkout?
Sure.
I haven't seen it yet. Do you have to touch it?
No, you will. So it has the barcode scanner is there, so you will scan your library card, and then you will scan your books underneath it. So no, there's nothing. In theory, you should not have. There'll be no mouse or keyboard. It is just a screen. And when you approach it, it will say scan your library card. You scan your library card, then it will change to a screen that says scan your items, and that's all.
Is that kind of a picture of it on page, I think 3 or 4 of the reopening?
No,
Okay.
Well, it is actually in the very left of that picture. Yeah. It's kind of messy right there because the receipt printer thing is there. But yes, if you look at that picture, that is
near the sneeze shield.
To the left of the screen.
Yeah, they look nice.
Yeah, to the very left of the sneeze guards look good. Those were installed this week. Those were built by the town carpenter. I showed him ones that I liked on Amazon, and the Amazon ones were over $100 a piece, and he built all of these for $83. So
wow, they do look nice.
Yeah, they look nice. They don't. The staff said, "I feel like I'm like in a bank," but it's nice. They look good. They protect. I think they'll protect sufficiently. Yeah. The one hanging down the side is to protect the self-checkout from the other people on the other side. So they'll go straight forward and do that.
Are we waiting for recommendations from the health department on how often those are getting cleaned?
I think we have to figure out. I think they'll be cleaned daily. I mean, Jim will probably clean them daily, obviously. And the spray stuff that we have, literally you spray it and it disinfects, and it dries clear on glass. Everything we've seen, so we could probably spray it during the day if we needed to, also. So we have those are some things we need to work out before we get people back in the building. We have to figure out what those, the public back in the building. But
are those glass?
They're plexiglass.
Plexiglass. Okay.
They're plexiglass. And there's another one for the reference desk in front of Cecily's desk that hasn't been hung yet because the ceiling there is different, so they need to get different hooks to make it connect. But
where are they going to hang that right where towards the front? Because she kind of turns around, doesn't she?
Right. Yeah. But when she turns around, those people that are on the computer island they're 6 feet away, and we've actually measured out where I have right now painter's tape like all over what the 6 foot lines are on all the staff members. So we might have to block off. There's 2 entrances to the reference desk that are open, and occasionally people do wander in there. So we'll probably talk about, I was thinking maybe just getting one of those chains that with a, hook that, so it's just a physical barrier so people don't wander through.
But we don't have people in phase 1, and we're just voting on phase 1.
We're voting right. Tonight we are voting on phase 1. There's a lot of other considerations. I mean, phase 2 is still curbside. There's still no people in the building. So that's our next phase. So we have some time to figure out what the letting people in the building, security and safety measures have to be.
It looks wonderful. I think the phase 1 plan. Yeah. Thank you for all that, because it was a lot of work. I know.
Yeah. There definitely were models from other libraries, and I must have attended 10 webinars on library reopenings and put together all the information from a lot of different people as to what was, what different things we're doing. And you had to look what works for you, because every library kind of is somewhat different. But I think we have a really good basic plan to be able to get people back in the building safely. At the end of the plan is a message that we will get out after this meeting to tell the public what it is. We're telling them that we're still closed until further notice. I do have something fear that if the governor says things can open, people are going to show up on Tuesday and expect us to, let them in the building, and that's not going to happen. So we need to get the word out. I figure I'll release this either tomorrow or over the weekend, telling people what they can expect in the future.
So theoretically, we should be moving into phase 2 before we meet again.
It's possible, yes.
So we don't need to approve that?
Well, I think maybe we do have to have a special meeting if that's necessary, or if the subcommittee trustees could vote to enact it. I think that's up to you guys how you want to deal with that.
I'm on the subcommittee, so I probably
I'm not on the subcommittee, but I would say we don't need, if we're going ahead with phase 1, we can hold an emergency meeting if needed. I just think that there's so much up in the air. There's really not much of a reason to plan that many stages ahead.
Yeah, I agree, because we don't really know what's going to happen. So.
Right. Okay. So what I will do is I will communicate when the phases, Amy and Nicole will know when the phase 2 plan is done, and they can make a decision whether they think there needs to be a public meeting or not. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve phase 1 of the COVID-19 pandemic phased reopening plan.
Okay, that's Amy. Amy's making the motion to adopt
Sorry,
phase 1.
Amy.
This is Rebecca. I'll second that.
Great. All right. All in favor? Laura
Yes, in favor.
and Carol? And I am
In
in favor as
favor.
well. Great. Thank you. All right. All in favor. Everyone has responded.
So the rest of my report, at this point, voicemails and emails are still coming to me on my personal phone. Next week, we will start answering the telephone from 11 to 2, Monday through Friday. Our Instagram page is growing. If you're not following our Instagram page, it's book reviews and movie reviews from staff. So that's live, that's active. That we're paying the full-time staff out of the municipal budget. Part-time staff since the shutdown has been paid out of state aid funds. And starting this week, our part-time staff hours have been reduced. They're only being paid for the hours they work on site. I really have to do some budget crunching to make sure we have, that we can continue to play. Once we start doing curbside, there'll be a lot more work for the part-timers to do. So I think we can probably talk about one more shift per week. But they've all been informed of what to expect as far as hours for the immediate upcoming time. And I've explained to them there's a lot of unknowns. So as soon as we figure out the unknowns, I'll relay it to them as soon as I know it. Kind of in good news, the good news is we held 3 virtual programs on Zoom in May. Our mother-daughter book club, Diane Nelson facilitated that, and there were Laura, you were in that group, right? Yes.
My daughter and I attend, and that was our second one. The first one was not live. That was our first live one. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. We have our next one Saturday.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that went really well. Cecily did her adult book discussion group. She had 12 people, which was her regular size crowd, and her book group is a lot of seniors, and I think they've all figured out Zoom because everybody was there, so people have,
that's great.
People have taken to it. And then our big one, we hired Jeff Belanger, who is a Bellingham resident, the ghost hunter author, and we had 78 people in the Zoom session with Jeff talking about New England legends. The Friends actually paid for that program, and it went really well, and it's given me some confidence that we can do programming through this platform. Steve is looking at, I think a lot of our summer programs are probably going to have to be virtual programs. Obviously, we can't bring people into the building. He's looking at hiring, I think there's someone in Bolton that does, it's a farm that has animals, so they could actually be at the farm doing something, and then the kids could be watching at least something live, as opposed to, just a recording or something. That's some live performances. So that's exciting.
Can I ask you a question about the Zoom programs?
Sure.
Do you have any concerns about the security? Because I know I've seen a couple things where people were hacked.
Well, physically, what I'm doing is screen sharing is off. I did have when I set up the one for Jeff, I had everybody's mic and everybody's video blocked. No, we didn't have video blocked. We had mics blocked and screen sharing blocked, and somehow some people were unable to unmute themselves, and I don't know how it was happening. So that's something I've got to figure out. We had no problem with the screen sharing. I've totally blocked screen sharing unless someone is a host or a co-host. So do we have
our own Zoom, or do we use the town?
It's the town Zoom. It's the town Zoom account. So there are some settings that you can do, and I'm learning as we go along as to what what can and what can't be done.
But you also you emailed the link to register people who registered, so it wasn't out willy-nilly.
Unless they could have shared it with anyone, though. Obviously anyone who had the link could have shared it with other people.
Yeah, from what I've heard, the issue is when you can take the best security precautions you can by creating a waiting room and having that password.
Right.
But since this is a public event, it's kind of hard to keep that.
This one, this one we had to publish. Obviously, our meetings are public. You have to publicize the information where on the places you have to publicize it. But when we do an event that people register for, we can just send the registered participants the link. You're absolutely right. There's nothing preventing them copying and pasting it and sharing with whoever they want. And I bet, actually, Jeff, so we had 100 people registered for Jeff's program, and we had 78 or 79 show up. So that's a really good, for something virtual, I think that's a really good turnout. And were some of those people friends of other people who had registered? Probably, but actually the one glitch was kind of funny at the end. Somebody coughed, and it was Pauline, one of our staff members. She had somehow unmuted herself, and it was very funny because it was like at the end everything was done and there was a cough. But I mean, there were some people that were unmuting themselves. Jeff was really good at getting it back on.
He was really great at the beginning, and
Yeah.
you were trying to figure everything out. He was just like, boom, you know.
Yeah.
So I think he did a good
He
job.
had only done that once with one of the library before us too, so he's learning how to do this stuff. You know, it's kind of a learning curve for everybody, and I think we have to be flexible that weird things might happen, you know. But it went really well. So Steve definitely is looking at doing some of the summer programming that way. The other really good news is tomorrow I'm supposed to be getting our copy of the book. Amazon says it's coming tomorrow in the U.S. postal mail. So we've ordered there were 2 orders we made. One was the people that had pre-ordered before we closed, and then I did a second order, the people that ordered. We took cash and checks in March till we closed, and there was a second group, so I did 2 orders. Some reason these 2 orders are coming in 4 shipments. I'm only getting 8 of the books tomorrow out of the 70 we ordered, but I'll get my hands on it and see it. So what we're going to do, once I have it in my hand, we're going to do a promo. I think Cecily, Marjorie, Pam Johnson, and I are going to try to get together, like at the library, 4 tables socially distanced apart, and do some kind of an unveiling video of the book. And then we're going to offer people the link to buy it through the Friends link, or to send a check to the library, and we'll do one more order, to order them. We do make more money if we order them as author copies versus letting people buy them directly off Amazon. So we're going to try to sell as many as we can on our own, because the price difference, what you make is substantial more if you buy them as authors and then resell them. So, but that's exciting. So that will be, as soon as I have them in my hand, we'll get the links up again. The link is still on the Friends page to buy it by a credit card, but we haven't done any promoting since this all happened. So we'll stop promoting it. The ones that people have pre-ordered, we're going to probably find a way to just deliver them, because they're people supposed to pick them up at the library. I don't want them to have to wait until we reopen to do that. So we're probably going to do some curbside delivery of the books to the local people, and then mail them to the people that are out of town. There were 3 or 4 people I think that were in town that paid for postage, and we'll probably just drop them off. And there were some that said they would pick them up that lived out of town that we're going to mail them. So it'll probably be that the money will come out in the wash. We did charge people $3 for shipping. So, but that's exciting. And then the last thing, our budget, we're 88% through the year, and we've spent 84% of the budget. The budget, you know, we've been reducing our spending based on the spending freeze the town has asked us to do. And it looks like our salaries will probably all be spent, obviously, but we will be able to get back some of the money for the books we didn't buy. Our electricity line is down, so there will be some money going back to the town at the end of the fiscal year, which is I think it's warranted. It's good. We were closed for 2.5 months. So is it through 2? I don't know how long it was, but for the year. So it'll be good to turn some of that money back over and hopefully help us with whatever we need for next year.
Sorry. Is there any direction on statewide delivery? Did you say you think they're going to start when the
no. So what I know about statewide delivery is they probably will do something when the order is lifted, but the way their warehouse work, it's like an Amazon warehouse. It's it's a bunch of people kind of very close together that are picking and doing things. So they probably will have to work at half staff or quarter staff. So if they do open, it might just be slower. It might be slow. You know, right now we get delivery 5 days a week. I think if we get it 2 once they reopen until things, because they've got I don't know what they're doing.
They don't have a plan out yet. Then
they haven't. I think they're probably waiting to hear what the governor says on Monday, because they're not. It's not considered an essential service, so they really can't do anything. They probably have a plan, but I can understand you don't want to release a plan that you don't know that you can that you can execute. So they're probably working through what they plan on doing if the governor, permits them to do it, and then if delivery hasn't resumed, we will still do curbside. We'll let things go out of the building, but we really don't want to take things back until my goal when things come back is for our staff to handle them once. So we're not handling things that multiple times. Take the minimal risk. They'll wear masks and gloves when they check things in, but not handling things. We do it before, then you have to put them on a cart somewhere. Yeah, there's just too many times to handle them. It's safer just to handle them once. And that's my goal, is to keep people as safe as we can.
I read that article that you forwarded us about, well, actually, I was hoping the UV light would be more helpful than the article said that it was. It just said to keep, you have to separate them for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, right. It's the recommendation, the most recent recommendation is paper and cardboard is 24 hours, plastic is 72. Most of our books are covered in plastic, so they're at 72. But there is another study that the Institute of Museum and Library Services is doing with some lab to do another test that they're hoping to get, to figure out, get a different, does it replicate what they think they know as far as how long it lives. My plan is when we return things, as long as we have carts, I can see leaving them up to a week and just check them in when enough time, when we need that cart again. There's no hurry. Things are already nothing is due till July 1st. Yeah. So things will just stay on people's cards until we can get a chance to check them in. And that's my plan, is to try to keep touch things as few times as possible, and keep and move. We obviously want to move things when we do start curbside. If someone places a hold today, that doesn't mean they're going to be able to pick it up tomorrow or later today. So we need to get that message out that we have to have time to, is it still on the shelf? There's going to be a lot involved with that. So they're going to have to wait till they get an email or a call from us that things are ready to be picked up.
I do have a question. It's Laura Howard.
Yeah.
I have a question. How will this impact? I know the high school and middle school summer reading list.
We have the lists. They've shared the list with us. We're starting to buy the materials, so we will have them.
Okay.
We will have them. So whenever if curbside starts in June some point, we'll have the summer reading titles ready to go. Yes. Yeah, they're sharing their list with us, and I think Amanda placed one order already for some that she received, but we have the lists, and we're working with them to get the copies that we need. Now, generally during summer reading, we rely on other libraries, so we don't have to buy, if there's a popular book and we have 100, 200 libraries in our system, we don't have to buy that many copies because we can rely on other libraries to share. If other libraries aren't open yet, or if delivery isn't resumed yet, it's going to be a little more of a challenge. So we'll figure out. What we normally do is we buy more when we have 10 holds or something, and we'll probably have to do whatever we have to do to meet that demand. We'll do the best we can.
Okay.
And that is, the other, just as far as the fund update, we have $95,000 in our municipal budget. We have $31,000 in our state aid funds right now, and those funds are being used to pay part-time staff. By the end of the fiscal year, that balance will be between $20,000 and $25,000. So that's going to be reduced, and then we have to make that last until we get our next state aid payment, which will come in November, and that's an unknown as to how much money that will be. I'm kind of basing it on what happened in 2008 and 9 and 2000, whatever year that was, that the last financial crisis happened. Our state aid went from 24,000 down to 16,000. This time we're only at 22. So I'm really not planning on more than, when I do budgeting, I'm going to plan on no more than 10, just to be conservative, so we can try to figure out how to figure out, because I think this might be a more dire crisis than that last one was, as far as what happens to state aid. So I'm trying to, I will do some more number crunching to figure out how many hours we can give those part-time people to try to make it last, to make those funds last.
Bernadette, we don't need to vote on next year's budget. Did we already do that?
We did, but this week there was some talk in the town about revising budgets. So I think we'll be getting something. So we'll be getting something, and that might be another reason we have to do a special meeting if there is a budget revision request. So we'll keep that in mind. Town meeting is June 20 something. Do you know the date, Amy, exactly? It's June 20 something. So that's by that date, I assume we'll
22nd maybe.
Yeah, by that date we will need to have most likely have to have a budget review. Okay, thank you. So by that date we'll have to have a revised budget, I assume. But they're going through what the town has to do to figure out what the next steps are when when our budget is usually, right now we're usually, next week would be voting on what we had if things were normal. So everything is going to be delayed. So they really have to figure out where we are. So so that could be a reason that we have to call a special meeting if we have to revote a budget. So keep that in mind. And that is all that I have.
All right, and our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 12th at 7 p.m. And I'll make a motion to close the meeting at 7:29.
I'll second. Amy.
Great. Rebecca
In favor.
and Laura
In favor.
and Carol.
One thing,
Yes.
I think the next meeting is actually on June 11th.
Oh, what did I say? Didn't I say Thursday, June 11th at 7 p.m.?
I don't know. I might have heard it
Yeah.
wrong.
I'm reading it
But
from the agenda. So Thursday, June 11th at
Okay.
7 p.m. Okay.
All right.
Sorry if I said it
I'm
wrong.
trying to do a lot of mental things at once.
I didn't get the date wrong, did I? Let me just double check that. It's Thursday 11th. Yeah, Thursday's the 11th. Yeah, that's
Thursday,
right.
Okay.
June 11th.
Yeah, that's
11.
right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Such as
All
it's
right.
written on the agenda.
Yeah. Okay, great.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Have a good
Bye.
one. Bye.